Alrighty, here we go. This is the Travis Neville Podcast. I am Travis Neville, and it is my pleasure to be recording almost my 80th episode. I think this is number 77. I know it's been hit and miss the last couple weeks, the last couple months actually. I look back and I went like 3 weeks and didn't drop any recordings. I actually recorded a bunch of stuff, but didn't have my studio set up, so I couldn't make through the audio form, etc. And now reasonably fully functioning here in this small back room of my cabin. Talked about that earlier. Before I forget, if you haven't yet, please buy my book. I looked at Amazon today and it's down to $15. It started out at 21, I think, and I don't know how those algorithms work. I don't get to make that decision. They just kind of decide what's going to sell for, and that's that. So there has been a price drop. Go pick up Reviving Masculinity. If you don't like it for yourself, I know you know someone who could use it. That's what I say when I give it away to people. I always say the same thing. I'm like, hey man, I'll give you a copy, no problem. The only thing I ask is that when you're done reading it, or if you choose not to read it, give it to somebody that you think it could help. And the idea behind that book is, hey, these are the things that you probably definitely didn't get if you didn't have a father in your home full time when you're growing up. These are the things that a man is supposed to do, and you'll miss them without that presence, that male presence, full time in your life. So that's what you should look for. Someone who's struggling. 16 to 26-year-olds, I guess, really is what I was focusing on there. But it can help anybody. I mean, there's great information there. Put a lot of research in it, a lot of quotes. It's even got pictures. Anyway, yeah, Reviving Masculinity. Go pick it up if you would. Recent price drop, which helps everybody. So I had an interesting encounter's the wrong word, experience last week. I got a note from a former student of mine, former student and athlete, letting me know that he still watches, that he watches or listens to this show, which I took as a great compliment. And a little background on this guy. He's he was one of those dudes who, good kid, you can tell, but he had just that penchant for mischief. You know what I mean? Like you knew that he could get into a little bit of trouble. I knew that about him, but it never stopped me from supporting him, liking him, pushing him to be the best that he could be. And he was one of these guys that actually raised the bar for me, because I knew when I was making a lesson plan or a practice plan, he's one of those kids that he was the one in my mind. I'm like, if I can hook him, if I get him engaged in this workout or this activity or this lesson, then I know everyone else will be hooked. So what he did, and he didn't realize this, is he raised the bar for me. I mean, my job was always to raise the bar for him and everybody else around him. But he actually did make me a better coach and a better teacher. And Cam, so this one's for you, bud. I used to tell that group of kids, and I say it all the time. I would say, be a leader. I always tell those kids, be a leader. And what I meant by that, I always would kind of throw it out there when they were doing a thing that was, not leadership like. And there are many, many, many things that can fall into that category. Likewise, there are lots of things that can fall into the leadership category. And I'd always just say, hey, be a leader. Like don't be a follower. Don't do things just to be cool. Don't do things just to impress other people. Don't sit back and let other people lead. Be a leader yourself. Step up and be that. Be a leader. I used to say it all the time. And I wonder if that lesson ever actually kind of came across to them. I gave them a lot of examples, like I said, but so I figured this would be a good opportunity to define that. I mean, now that group of young men, they're in their early 30s, for fuck's sake, man, does that make me feel pretty old? Um, you know, some of this might make a little bit more sense. So when I say be a leader, really what I'm saying is be a man. Do what a grown man would do, because I know that leadership and manhood, they're one and the same. If you're a man, you are always leading, and it is very different than being a woman. And I'm not saying women can't be leaders, blah, 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 stop all that bullshit. You guys know enough to know that. I don't care about that. What I mean is this. Um, you need to be aware of that. I mean, everywhere you go, everything you do, you are leading. And I want to kind of define what that is, what that leadership is, and then give some examples of how that works. Um, so the first thing that I think a really good leader has for sure defined is a vision. You've got an idea of where you want whatever that thing is that you're working on, where you want that to go, where you want it to end up, how you want it to be. Whether it's, and I'll give you lots of examples, your relationship, your children, your job, your neighborhood. I mean, all these things are places where you need to have a vision. You need to have an idea of, hey, this is how I want things to be. I want things to run in this certain way. And I know when it's not going that way. I know when somebody stepped out of what I want, what's my vision for this team that I was running. So I'd always stop them and say, hey, that isn't what we're doing here. Be a leader. Leaders wouldn't do that. You know what I mean? So that vision of what you think these people can be around you, it's a lot less as an adult. It's certainly a lot less deliberate than it is as a coach. Like I specifically am changing behaviors in people. Now that's not a thing you're probably going to do much as a man, but what you do impacts what other people do. And that's really what I want to talk about today is more of the passive effects of who you are as a man and how those impact the people around you and those impact your world. So step one is have a vision. You have to know where you want to be, what you want to do. It's, and we'll talk about that. I'll give you a bunch of examples. Step two is you've got to exhibit consistency moving towards that vision, maintaining it if you're already there, taking steps to get there if you're not there, uh, making it clear both with your actions and of course with your words, which should be few, certainly compared to your actions. Uh, you've got to be consistent every day, grinding, getting to where you want to be, doing the same stuff to get to that goal, to stay on your vision, to stay on your task. And it doesn't have to be this massive, I'm going to change the world thing. It doesn't. It can just be, hey, I want us to be happy. I want things to be us to be smiling more than we're not. It can be something like that, like if you're dealing with your relationship. So that could be your vision. It could be just that simple and just that general. You've got to have that. You've got to define that. You've got to know what that is for you. And I mean, of course, as a leader, you've got to be going somewhere, right? You've got to be like getting to like some sort of a destination, whether it's philosophical or mental or emotional or whatever. So you have to have that vision of a thing that you're trying to get to, and you got to be consistent trying to get there. And the third thing, which might seem to undermine the second thing, you've got to be flexible. You've got to learn that it's not always going to go your way. There are going to be there are always going to be bumps in the roads, and you got to be able to adjust and adapt. Okay. So like when I thought about, that same group of young men, we took them to the state track and field meet. And, me and myself and my other coaches were in one hotel room and they were in this other hotel room. And I knew it, man. Somehow at some point, one of them it was probably Cam, got a hold of one of our door keys. And in the middle of the night, they came in with buckets full of cold water and they doused us while we were sleeping, myself and the other coaches, which was, I mean, looking back on the surface of it, it was a fucking awesome stunt. I mean, that's a kick-ass prank, and I'm proud of those guys for coming up with it and being able to slip one past us. I really am. Now, in the moment, I was pretty pissed off, and I know the coaches were too. But what we ended up doing, I think what we did, and this was me trying to be flexible, I think we made them sleep in our room because now the beds were all wet. We were like, "Fuck you guys, you're sleeping in here." I think, I think that's what we did. Like, I had to be able to adjust on the fly and get us to our goal. Again, that's just an example of being flexible when things don't go your way and when they're not behaving as you want them to behave and things aren't going on around you the way that you'd like them to go. You've got to be creative and flexible to get there. So those are the three things I would say. As a leader and as a man, you've got to be able to make sure that you're comfortable with, and so let's go ahead and apply them. So the first thing, let's just talk about in your neighborhood, okay? And you can define neighborhood as you will. Maybe you live in an apartment complex. Maybe you have roommates. I mean, shit, your situation could be lots of different things, but I'll just tell you about like or the situation I just left. I was living in an older subdivision. I had an acre ground. Most of my neighbors had about that size, mature trees and stuff. It was a good spot. And the things I did to be a leader in my neighborhood were very simple. I kept my yard really nice. Because when you have a really nice yard, then the people around you, just almost out of guilt, are going to be like, well, fuck, I better pick up my game. This dude's not fucking around over here. Look at me. He's cutting everything. He's double cutting it on an angle. He makes sure he does his weed and feed. There are no dandelions out there. Like I kept my grass real nice. My landscaping was always sharp. Um, that one thing, what it does is exudes a sense of pride. And it might seem like a small thing and it might seem shallow, but it really isn't because like it or not, people are going to address you differently when they think that about you. They're going to be like, wow, this guy really cares. He's got his shit together. He's organized. He's disciplined. He's hardworking. People will treat you differently than if your house is a shithole. They really will. And it isn't just your house. You know, your house can symbolize lots of different things here. It can be your locker at work. It can be your car. It can be lots of different things that it's an expression of who you are, and you've got to be aware of that. So when you bring your game up, it brings up the game of those around you. It really will. Now, some people, we'll call them haters. I did several episodes on haters a couple of years ago, but they will see you achieving and be mad at you for it. And fuck those motherfuckers. You know, anytime you have haters, be excited because it means you're doing shit right. Bottom line. I mean, if you think I don't have them, you're wrong. For crying out loud, Google me. You'll see. There's a shit ton. Get on Facebook. The witch hunts that have come after me are endless. And I'm fine with that. I mean, anytime that you are moving forward and doing things the best you can and trying for something new and different, taking chances, taking risks, which are again very masculine things to do, people are going to hate on it because it makes them feel badly about themselves. Now, again, if you're in a professional situation or again where you live, um, it's always a good thing. You got nothing to lose here. Don't worry about not making friends by making your yard too nice. It just doesn't work that way. Another thing, you know, if you see somebody around, let's say you do that, you start making things real nice, and you see that it's changing. All of a sudden, lady across the street, she's got some new flower pots out there, and the guy next door, all of a sudden he's cutting his grass on an angle too. You know, just little tweaks like that, you can be like, all right, cool. I'm making a difference in the world. I'm changing the world around me. And when we say changing the world again, it's not the whole world, it's just your world. That's all you're trying to do. So when you see that happening, you know, be proud of that and be excited, but also keep an eye out for those who maybe can't do it. Again, that old neighborhood I lived in, you know, I had a lot of old people around me, so I did everything I could to help them. I talk about this all the time. I used to snow blow every driveway I could get to when you know when snow was deep. I was already out there. I was already geared up. Why not? Right? Get out there and take care of them. And again, how much more of a leader can that be? I'm willing to help everyone else out. And then if you end up in a jam, they'll be there. You know, these other people will step up and help you. And geez, I've needed it. You know what I mean? I've been in that position. So yeah, make your yard nice, watch the game improve, watch things around you get better, and then also keep an eye out for people who can't and help them if you can. And remember, and I'll talk about this more when we talk about being a parent. Uh, young people are always watching you. They're always watching what you do. Always. So that's in your neighborhood. That's one good example of a place where you can be a leader. Another place that I think is again a place where you can lead is at work. It doesn't matter what job you have. You can be, um, you know, you can be a garbage man. Not that that's a lowly profession, because damn it, we need them. You know what I mean? And I got a buddy who did that for a while. I wouldn't like nothing's beneath me. I'll do any work. I really like working with my hands, and I take pride in everything that I do, no matter what it is. But no matter what it is, there's a way that you can have a little bit of pride in your work because people are watching. And it isn't about wanting everybody to think you're great and wanting everybody to love you. It's the idea that you can help them be better at their lives, which again, as a man, you are a leader all the time. It's the same thing. Okay. And it's your job, it's your duty to help other people around you be better at their lives because then they will do the same thing, and they do that by watching you. So you're a garbage man, and you know you can just chuck that garbage can across the driveway and leave it in the way when somebody's pulling in. When they get home, they got to move it to get in their driveway, or you can put it back, put the lid on it. Just little things like that, those little disciplines. That's going to help you feel more structured and organized about your life, and you're going to leave your job with a smile. And you know, you leave a thing of pride behind you. Everybody who comes by and sees that, they're gonna be like, "Oh, somebody's doing things right here," so that encourages me to do things right myself. Um, you know, if you have, um, say you're the young guy, you're the new guy. Well, how the hell can I lead? You know what I mean? I'm new here. I don't know much. I'm a young guy, whatever. You know what you have that nobody that the older, like seasoned dudes don't have? You've got energy. You've got enthusiasm. You've got excitement. You've got that. that desire to learn. And you expressing that is not you admitting that you're ignorant. It's not you letting everybody know that you don't know what you're doing. It's you having energy and excitement to learn, having some curiosity to get better at this thing. And you think that wouldn't help the older guys watching you soak up things and get better and improve? No, they're thinking back about, shit, I haven't improved on anything in years. Look at this guy, he's banging it up. Now, even if they don't say that to you, they're going to feel it, right? You know what I mean? So as a young guy, yes, you can still at work uh, improve people. You can still lead from the bottom. You can kind of manage up. And of course, if you're a more seasoned individual, you've been there a while, holy fuck, if you haven't taken anybody under your wing, it's like one of the most rewarding things you can ever do. Um, Truly, to watch somebody who maybe they're that new guy and they're struggling a little bit, and you can see them maybe making some of the mistakes you made, to put your arm around them and say, "Hey, man, do it like this," or "Hey, man, check this out," or even just catch them in the parking lot and saying, "Hey, man, I know where you are. I've been there. You will get past it. You just keep grinding. You'll get there." That little attaboy can make so much difference to a new guy who's just starting in his job and wants to be good, or even, maybe they don't even know that they want to be good yet. If you treat them well, they'll stick around and they'll grow. And I'll tell you, man, I've had some shit jobs that were awesome because I was working with great people. And I've had some really great jobs that sucked because I worked with a bunch of fucking assholes. And you guys know that's the truth. That's the way it is. So be one of the good guys that makes your job situation fun. The time will go by more quickly, and you get to help someone be better at life. And again, you don't have a choice here. You as a man, this is what you are. Embrace this. You are a leader. You are an agent of change. You are a helper. You are a developer of people. And even again, especially when it's passive, when people are just watching you do your job the best you can, um, they're watching. People are paying attention. That's for sure. Um, I mean, maybe you are that seasoned guy and nobody helps you. I mean, you're kind of bitter about, well, nobody helped me. I'm not helping anybody else. Well, fuck that. You had to figure it out all on your own, and you got to as far as you got. Good for you. So help somebody, teach them what you know. And now you're a pro in their eyes. Now they lean on you. Now they look to you as that leader. And they're going to come to you. And let me tell you, that's that same challenge I told you that I accepted from Cam. He was a guy who, like I said, I had to raise my bar in order to engage him and keep him involved and keep him wanting to be there. And so now that young guy that you help, he can do that for you. You know what I mean? If you have to bring up your game in order to help this young guy, you'll get better. And that's a very good thing. That's going to make you, better at life. Why wouldn't it? So that's work. We talked about your neighborhood or your physical location, your home, essentially. Um, and then here's another one, your relationship. This is this is where, again, where the haters jump on me like crazy, because my haters essentially are, um, people who drink the media Kool-Aid and believe all the shit that they see on social media, and they think that the world that they see in TV commercials is what the world is really like, and it just isn't. Um, what I'm going to tell you is this: in your relationship, you as a man have a very specific um, defined role, and I'm going to tell you what it is, and then you are going to keep it a secret. That's kind of part two of this. All right, is I'll tell you, but you got to keep it a secret. Your partner, your woman, she is going to tell you she wants X, Y, Z, but it isn't what she wants. And I'm going to give you an example of that. I'm not talking about she's like, hey, I really would like to next time we go on vacation, I'd like to go to Mexico. She probably wants that. I mean, that's legit. But with regard to you as her partner, with regard to you as a man, as the other half of that relationship, what she tells you she wants and what she actually wants are almost always going to be two different things. And what I mean here is this. She's going to say she wants you to be Clark Kent. And remember Clark Kent, he's the guy that takes his shit off and turns into Superman. Well, what Clark Kent is the passive, um, beta, soft, emotionally vulnerable, uh, good at picking out window treatments, talks about where he is vulnerable, like he said, maybe cries sometimes. She's going to tell you that that's what she wants from you because the world is telling her that's what she should want. And in her brain, she very much believes that. She believes that's what she wants from you. She also believes that happy wife, happy life, and she should be in charge and she should be making all the decisions and you should just sit back. And none of those things is true. Okay. What's actually true is this. What she fell in love with was Superman. She fell in love with the athletic, broad-shouldered, um, masculine, alpha leader man. Okay. That's what she fell in love with. That's what she at her genetic core is attracted to. That's what she really wants. If you become Clark Kent, in her mind, she might be like, this is so great. He's talking to me. He's telling me about his feelings. He's, but at her core, she's going to lose attraction for you. And I think you know what's going to happen if that happens. She will. If she's not attracted to you, some things are going to change in your house, and they are not positive changes. Okay. It'll fall apart and hit the floor very quickly. So there is good news. I mean, I'm not saying that you can't ever talk about what you're feeling. You know, if you need more detail on that, read the second book. I've got a chapter on honesty where you'll really learn some details about that. But just know this one fact. She's going to say she wants you to be that beta and soft and letting her take charge and letting her be the boss, and she wants to be that boss babe and all that stuff, but she doesn't really want it. And how you handle that's up to you. But what I would tell you is this. You know what it's like to, heavy is the head that wears the crown, as they say, right? It's a lot of stress, it's a lot of worry, it's a lot of pressure to be in charge and making the decisions that everybody's following, especially in a very intimate, close relationship like you and your partner. Okay? It's a lot of stress, and you as a man have to know that. Do you want to pass that on to her? Do you want to burden her with all of that shit? No, of course you don't. You as a man, you instinctually want to protect and provide for her, right? You want to make her life better. You want to bring home the bacon. You want to protect her from the dragons. You want to make her life as easy as you can make it. At least you should be thinking that, at least on some level. And does giving her a bunch of responsibilities and a bunch of tasks where she's got to make decisions and she has to lead, does that, to you, does that seem like protecting and providing? No, man, you're burdening her. You're making her life harder. So again, she's going to say she wants that, but really, you've got to keep that to a minimum. You know what I mean? And I don't mean treat her like a little kid. Nothing like that. Just know that she's going to say that like crazy, but if you give it to her, she won't respect you, then she'll leave. That's the bottom line, man. I hate to say it. You're kind of in a rock or hard place here. And the second piece is you got to keep the secret. Because if you tell her what I just told you, now everything's out the window. Now she's going to know everything you're doing. She's going to be able to see through it. Now you don't have an out. Now your Superman is completely gone. Okay? Now that's disappeared. You don't have the option anymore. So think about what I said. Think about some scenarios where that's happened already to you, where you let her take charge, and you tell me, was she happier or wasn't she? Okay? I mean, every situation's different, but um, yeah, so think that through, and that way you are a leader. And that's part of being a leader, I think, in all realms, is understanding that lots of people don't understand it, and haters are going to hate it and think they're going to be better at it until they're in that position. And then they shit the bed. You know, I think about, when I've been a head coach before. I enjoy it and I do a good job, and I know what that is, and I know what to expect. But I'll tell you, when I left one of the schools I was at where I was a head coach and I went to another school where I was an assistant coach, where I just had to run sprinters, jumpers, basically everything but distance, but I wasn't the head coach, so I didn't have to do paperwork or parent stuff or any of that stuff. My God, it was like going on vacation. It was great. And I seek those leadership positions, and I was running 3/4 of the team myself, but it was nice. And that's what the information, the idea I'm passing on to you is you don't always have to, um, you know, listen to what she says. She's going to tell you that she happy wife, happy life, all this bullshit. But I'm telling you, the more you cater to her, she's still not going to be happy, and then she really won't know what to do. You know what I mean? Again, then she's going to start blaming the fact that she's unhappy on you, and telling you, man, that's the way it usually goes. 93, if you're a college-educated person, 93% of divorces are initiated by women. Not making it up. And if you're not college-educated, it's still like 82%. They become unhappy, they blame you, they leave. And so it's up to you to manage this. You've got to manage it without letting her know. She's a slave to her emotions, and you're not. So you've got to be able to keep a box, keep her safe, man. She's going to keep ramming herself against you, trying to crack you to make sure that you're still that strong rock that she needs, that she's attracted to. And you just can't crack. That's all. Easy job. Just don't crack her. Don't let her see you crack. You got some issues, you got some things you're not sure about, call me, call somebody else. I'll talk it out with you, get it all fixed up, and maybe you can report back to her later. But that's what it is in your relationship. That's what it is to be a leader in your relationship. Now, here's a big one with your kids. If you have kids, and I get this a lot, I get people asking me, how the fuck do you know anything about kids? You're not a parent. Well, that's why I know, okay? Because I'm not a parent. That means that I am objective about it. I'm not making decisions emotionally based on, my feelings for my own kids and my feelings for my own fatherhood, because I'm not that. All I've ever been is a parent to other people's kids. You know what I mean? And all I've ever done is study the shit out of it. For 10 years, 11 years, I was in high schools, various high schools, trying to help kids get better, trying to turn kids into adults, man. High school was an adult factory. They come in 13, 14 years old. They're not those little kids. They leave 18. They're voting. They're going to war. They're adults. And it was our job to turn them into that. So I took that job very seriously. That's why I know what it is to raise kids, because I was a professional at it. That's why I know. So this is what I know about boys in particular. Girls too, but definitely boys. They are always watching and sometimes listening. Okay? Always watching what you do, right? And sometimes, well, they're always listening, I suppose, to what you say to them, but a lot of it they'll forget. Okay? They won't forget what they watched. Now, maybe they won't consciously remember it, but they will, in a pattern wise, they will remember what they saw. And I always give the example of my parents and drinking. I watched them when I was a kid. When my folks drank, it was always, it was never during the week. It was only on the weekends. It was usually holidays, always a social thing, whether it was a family get together, neighbors or friends or whatever it was. And it was always positive. I never saw my parents get upset with each other or anyone else. Never saw any alcohol-fueled disagreements. Nothing like that. So, and they never told me that. They never said, you shouldn't be drinking when you're angry. But I also never saw them come home. I had a bad day. Give me a beer. It never went like that. It was always, you know, alcohol was just for positive occasions, because it just enhances what's going on in your life. It's all it does. It's not going to fix anything. It's just going to make what's already going on more so. So why not make your happy more so? Who would want to make your sadness or your depression or your anxiety or your frustration? Who would want to exaggerate that? That sounds terrible. That's what alcohol does. So again, they never had that conversation with me, but I watched how they did it. So holy shit, that's what I do. That never clicked until I wrote my first book, which shit, I was in my 40s. And I put that together. I'm like, that's why I see that the way I do. Because I watched them do it. You know what I mean? So yes, your kids are always watching you. So make sure what you're doing is a leader type activity, right? Make sure that the things that you do, and that's, how do you deal with frustration? How do you deal with happiness? How do you deal with sadness? How do you deal with disagreements with your partner? Think of all the things that they see. They are not another adult sitting there that can insulate themselves from that and go, well, I'm glad I'm not him. They are learning how to be an adult, and you're teaching them, and they're learning by watching you. Okay? Again, sometimes listening, always watching. All right? That's how they are. And again, boys in particular learn socially. Um, they've got to see men doing it right. In the beginning, when men, up until the Industrial Revolution, I'll tell you, men worked at home. I mean, you were on a subsistence farm, so you'd be, like, our culture was very agricultural. Um, your dad got up early in the morning and went out and worked the land. I mean, he was tending to animals and planting or weeding or moving rocks or cutting down trees or, doing all the shit you needed to do to stay alive. And the young men, the boys, would go out with him. So they all day would watch him being a man. And it isn't just the stuff, it isn't just that you got to do manly stuff. It really is, how do you deal with the fact that that tree didn't fall in the right direction, the way that you wanted it to fall? How do you deal with the fact that one of your animals is sick? Are you a punch the wall guy, go crazy, scream and yell, come in and cuss out your wife? Or are you, you know what, let's find another way. Let's be flexible. Let's figure out a way to do this. Life just threw us a curveball. How are we gonna manage it? Let's be creative, come up with a solution, right? That's the kind of stuff that they're really watching. That's what they're really patterning. So at that time, up until the Industrial Revolution, kids were with dad. And then after, the Industrial Revolution happened, dads were leaving home in the morning. They were still going to work all day, but it was someplace else. And so those young men didn't have that ability to see it all day long. They were being raised by their moms. After 7 or 8, when they normally, you know what I mean? Like they were raised by their parents and their moms until they were old enough to be out working with them. And then that, now that changes, right? So dad's not in the house anymore. And now currently the last 30, 40, 30 years, I'd tell you, since the early 90s and even before that, we've just an unbelievable rash of single parent households, and 80.5% of those are women. They're single moms. So they don't see dad at all, maybe on every other weekend. That just isn't even close to enough for a boy to learn how to be a man. And that right there is exactly why I wrote Reviving Masculinity. It's out there. If you know somebody in that situation, it'll help them. Anyway, that's what it is. When I say be a leader, that's what I mean, you guys. I mean, I said it for a long time to these kids, and this is what I mean. This is how you be a leader. I'm expanding it out to where it makes sense. If I'd have said all this shit to you guys when you were, 15, none of it would have made any sense to you, because you didn't have the life experience for any of this shit to really look. Like you didn't have kids, you didn't have a serious relationship, you didn't really have a job that was anything that was a big deal. Of course, you didn't have a neighborhood, not really. I mean, you lived someplace, but it wasn't your house. You know what I mean? So yeah, this is it, man. This is how you be a leader. Yeah, hope you guys, I know you're all doing well. All those South Lake grads, all those kids from Sturgis that I had, even my Algonac kids, who I think would have been fine anyway, and my Grand Blanc athletes as well. I mean, I was always trying to develop you into better men. That was the goal. Hopefully some of this stuff helps you guys. If you have any questions, I'm not hard to find. Reach out, give me a shout out, give me a call, send me an email, let me know this stuff's helping you. Give me some guidance, let me know what kind of things you want to hear, and I'll help you. I'm Travis Neville. This is the Travis Neville Podcast. I hope that some way today's show helped you to get your shit together. Have a great week.